Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Sun. It is Friday, and we are so happy to be back. Thank you for joining us. We have had some fantastic episodes to kick off season 3, and today is no different. Throughout this conversation, we want to encourage you to like, subscribe, share this conversation. And we are live, so drop your comments and questions for Christina in the chat, and we look forward to answering those for you. Melissa, let's tell them a little bit about Christina.
Christina is with us for the second time with Beyond the Steps. Christina is a transgender queer artist, licensed medical professional, and dance instructor of over 25 years. Christina had a 12-year professional classical ballet career as a socialized male ballet dancer. Along with teaching classical ballet, she's an accomplished choreographer of modern, contemporary, and classical dance, and has been a character artist for 23 years. Most recently, in the integration of her medical practice healing roots acupuncture with her lifelong love of dance, teaching, and movement. This unique marriage has brought dance to a population that has rarely had an accepting space. In the past year, Queer Dance Project won the Queer to Stay Award, handed out by Human Rights Campaign and Showtime. In this new decolonized dance studio, Christina has started to offer the LGBTQIA+ community classical arts training, along with a variety of other dance movements. In an effort to reach out to those with the means to participate in dance classes, Queer Dance Project has established the Guardian Transcestor Fund to help pay for dance clothes, shoes, workshops, and classes. Yes, Transcestor Fund. Coming in February, Christina will be the release of Christina's new book, an author.
Yes.
Okay, Christina, come with the author. I want to see this: The Adventures of Vaginoplasty, a trans woman's guide to healing. Did I pronounce that right? Vaginoplasty.
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 I'm from the South. I had that.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
It can also be referred, like some people say sex change, but that's a negative connotation. It's better like gender confirmation surgery is better to talk about it that way. Better language.
What was the terminology?
Gender confirmation surgery.
Okay, I've never heard that. We learn here on Beyond the Steps. We are just so excited to have Christina with us. The last show that we did with her was absolutely phenomenal. We learned so much. The viewers learned so much, and we are here to learn even more today about deliberate discrimination against members of the studio owners or operators from the LGBTQIA+ community, and how can we stop that? Put a stop to it. So we are so excited about this topic, and let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, Christina, we always, Melissa just said it. I'm saying it now. We're always learning right along with everybody else. As we're talking to our guests, as people are watching, we're in the same boat, right? We're just facilitating the conversation. So can you give some brief examples of just a few of the challenges dance studio or operators, or really any small business in the LGBTQIA+ community experience through the course of doing business specifically? Because I think giving this perspective is really important to people who have never been affected or have never been touched by it. I think you respond very differently to things when it's affected your own life and touched your own life. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is, right? So talk about some of those challenges for people that don't understand.
Wow. Okay. So I've set my business up, the dance studio, to rely primarily off of the acupuncture studio because I knew that I couldn't build a foundation off of something that was consistently inconsistent. And that is not being demeaning or any sort of connotation towards the LGBTQ community, but oftentimes we have to find a safe place, and then we have to feel like we're safe there as well. Over and over, and then feel welcomed and feel that we're not going to be hurt, or there's going to be someone saying bad things behind our back. So I've built it so that the dance studio kind of really is sustained by my acupuncture practice, because that really, it'd be frivolous of me to throw in and say, I'm going to do this queer dance project and I'm going to make it work. It's harder than it thinks. You think. The discrimination I actually face is, I've been doing small business for 25 years. So if you include my dance career, it'd be like 35 or 40, because of auditions and hard work and all of that. But when I transitioned, there's not a lot of belief that who I am is, it's not equally valued. And so when I started doing my business, I started to see this. I would join Chamber of Commerce and I wouldn't get any references. I wouldn't find any network. And now what I've done is my business model is built off of targeting LGBT organizations, sports organizations. I work closely with the Denver gay and lesbian flag football teams, to help their players get better. We actually have a female semi-pro football team here, like full contact. So, and they're mostly gay. So I actually shoot for LGBT organizations to find my safety as a small business owner. Yeah, it's all, yeah. And I don't.
So you're saying it really inherently discriminated against by cisgendered other business owners, right? Because a lot of, I'm thinking of people that I know that would say, why do we need to know if you're an LGBTQIA plus business? Just open your business, run your business. And why does that doesn't matter? Like if you have a good business, people will come, right? Like you hear these ignorant comments all the time. And so why is it important that we make sure to acknowledge the LGBTQIA businesses, IA plus, I should say, businesses, and that's an understood thing in the community and as well as accepted?
Yeah, and also let's kind of define the two businesses that you're going to have. You're having a business that's business to business, and a business to client. So you're going to have these two different models. So no different. There's a trans woman who owns this great jewelry and rock shop right around the corner here. When I found her, I'm like, holy crap! Yeah. There's so many great. There's another trans woman here that's got a small business. Her business is business to business. My business is business to clients or paid. And so having that, it takes a lot to, all right, where am I? I've gone to churches and dropped some stuff off at some really positive LGBT churches. And all that, I got a lot of like, good luck, and you could see like that's hard. And you have something like, good luck with your business. Like,
right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I actually looked at marginalized business owners. So I looked at LGBT, like Letitia Hardy's dance studio down in Colorado Springs. She teaches a lot of bachata and salsa and merengue. She has got a wonderful, wonderful model, and it's called Letitia Hardy Dance Studio. And if I could model it, that's where I started with it. I really went with her work, and she's a queer LGBT Black woman who does some great work in the community. And she's got a great model. And so she's like one of these people I look at because I need to see how she did her business. Because there's not too many people out there like me. Doing and I've also had to make a lot of compensations because of, and a trigger warning for shooting and such. But I've lost a student because of the Club Q shooting down in Colorado Springs. And I've actually had to take extra security precautions, tinting my windows darker and pulling all my shirts so they never get pulled up. And then I've actually spoken to the Lakewood Police Department about the safety of my business. So let me ask other dance studios right now, have you had to do that?
Right.
Have you had to take precautions against the safety of your students or your dancers? I'm going to say most likely not.
Right. Definitely not as often. It's probably very few and far between if so.
Right. So it feels like it's almost like this rub and this challenge. It's like you want to promote yourself as a LGBTQIA plus business owner, because that's an area of pride to see success in business ventures from that community, because there's not a lot of people in that space, and geographically where you are, it could be none, little to none. You could be the only one. when it comes to that. So you want to promote that because there's a sense of pride there. But then it's almost like if you promote that, then you're putting your students, your clients, and yourself in danger because there are bigoted people who will target businesses or, intentionally sabotage businesses that have LGBTQIA plus ownership. And it seems like such a rub. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, and then I never got any support from the Small Business Administration these
Right.
last 3 years. So that's where I feel like I really get another mean rub is that I feel like I'm not even accepted in the small business
Community.
administrative community because they can't. All I've run into is fraud.
Uh-huh.
I got approved, I qualified, and all I got was fraud. Someone else took my money and ran away with it. I've never seen it. I've gotten zero support from my small business, and I've applied. Not only that, the Queer to Stay award that I was awarded was for the Queer Dance Project,
Mhm.
which does not qualify any part of the Small Business Administration's program to help small businesses.
Mhm.
But my healing with acupuncture stood in place and said, it's been here for 6 years. I should have been awarded some money, given some money to help my business. I've seen nothing,
Mhm.
nothing at all. I actually seen more support, and I hate to say it, I've seen more support from Donald Trump's administration than I've ever seen from this current administration. So as a trans small business owner who's got to sort of be liberal and democratic because of my thought process and who I am,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a push
it's
pull.
even worse. It's really bad. It's like my
Right.
mornings are worse. I have to put a smile on my face because I want to do this, and that's more important than the shame our government and small business owners have put on me.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And very, very interesting. Um, I want to talk about because we pride ourselves on we were talking about this before we aired. We don't shy away from controversy here, and there's a very controversial, ugly reality that in the space we're in, and I have heard this plenty of times. There's this like hyperphobia or fear around LGBTQIA professionals that work directly with students, children, and youth, or even work in medical or health professions like yours, where they're working with people in a vulnerable population that may
Yeah.
be ill or may be sick, and it's infuriating to me because I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you more scared for them to work with children than adults? Like it's like this inherent feeling that there's some type of harm or trauma, or predatory nature of people from the LGBTQIA plus community, and it's frustrating. Why do you think this harmful stereotype is perpetuated? Why does it endure? That's a loaded
That's
question.
that's a loaded question. I mean,
Right?
it actually goes right along with racism too. So let's get right to the point. It goes straight with racism. It's kind of like think about gay marriage and the gay marriage equality
Mhm.
act. Part of that really was interlaced with interracial marriage
Mm,
because some states don't recognize interracial marriages, and so the government had to lace these two together.
mhm,
So interracial marriages and trans and women's rights are closely interconnected in our government's rights.
mhm,
And so when they go after gay marriage, they're going also after mixed gender or mixed race couples and interracial couples. Like this is not just and when I say it's related with racism, it's because of that. It's this fear of understand years ago, hundreds of years ago, when Spanish troops arrived on this continent, when they couldn't figure out a man or a woman, they would make that person strip, find out their sex, and then put them in the right clothing
mm,
because they had to categorize gender.
mm,
They had to categorize it. Now, we're no, and I'm not putting us any likeliness to slaves at all and enslavement, but when you start to see thousands of years of this laced in there, it's
mhm,
not hundreds of years, it's thousands of years of
mhm,
it placed upon gender and expectations of what gender really is,
mhm,
which leads to like what we're talking about here today, the discrimination that happens in the ballet world and the
mhm,
dance industry and the inherent fears. These are fears that are right there
mhm,
that a lot of people can't really tangibly see.
mhm. This just incessant need of us in our culture to categorize. You have to put people. I don't understand why. do we need to be in a category? Why is that so important to you? Like you in this horrible historical example, strip down and let me see. Okay, then you go over here or you go over there. And as it returns to race, well, what are you? Where do you come from? What do you? Why is that? That's just not necessary. And I wish we could get to the root of why this categorization is so important.
And yeah, I mean, Christina, I also feel like it comes from what you just said. Like, I don't think people realize there are still archaic laws in certain states that have never been abolished. That they still, if you were to look at the constitution of that state, they are still in practice. I mean, I don't know if they're enforced all the time, but they could be, and that's equally as scary, right? In the hands of the wrong people and leadership. I think it would also be so helpful for the country to get on the same page when it comes to recognizing the LGBTQIA community instead of leaving it up to the states, because I think that's also a huge problem.
Yeah, and
it's not a political issue, is what I'm saying.
It's bigger than that. Like let's go further back and look at Joan of Arc. She was wearing men's clothing at the time. And the culture, the patriarchal culture, the colonial patriarchal culture was saying, you can't do that. We don't like that. And understand it goes so far back.
It goes so far back.
Like it's so far back in our humanity. A boy shouldn't look that way, and a girl should look this way, and a boy should look that way, and he should do that, and she should do this. I mean, in some states, I'm not allowed to be a business owner because I have openly gay signs in my office. You know, these are it's dangerous out there. I consider where I travel from and where I travel to now, and what state I'm in when I have to land or I'm going somewhere. I need to know. I just have to be aware of that. And you're right, it could be enforced, but there's also an attack defense law that allows a man, if he beats and kills a trans woman, as a panic defense attack. And it's in a lot of state laws still. It's called panic defense, and you can panic and defend yourself because you found yourself with somebody who didn't say who they were, and you can beat the crap out of them, and you can get away with it. So a lot of states still have that. And there was also an unwritten law in New York City called walking while trans. And if you look, trans is no different than a person of color back in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Like if you were black and on the wrong side of the street, the wrong part of the neighborhood, you got picked up. If they've got walking trans laws, if you look something and they don't like the way you look, they can arrest you. So and the panic defense laws are in all of the states. Like it allows men to beat the crud out of somebody, or whatever, female to beat the crud out of somebody if they feel that they panicked, and in their panic they defended their gender or their ego or their whatever.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. I again, it's like I'm taking it in. I'm silent because I'm just absorbing what you just said. It's bananas to me.
Now, a lot of states, I want to say California is one of the most progressive states that has gone out there and gone after stuff like that. I think when they passed a law most recently that protects anybody if you're in California for abortion and gender confirming surgeries or gender confirming HRT, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think that this is understood because, again, I think most people aren't affected by these things. And so it's off the radar. And I think when all the political conversations start happening and you're picking sides, like, you know what you're hearing from that one side and not the other side. And so I think it is very interwoven in our political system, and the humanity of it all gets very, very lost, which is sad.
Yeah.
And then let's take it to the next level. Let's really look at the bigger picture. Like, now take that, put it under a microscope times 1,000,000, and you think about like Misty Copeland and these black dancers and the people of color dancers, and have to make these waves. You know, I was dancing with Latina women back in the 80s at Pacific Northwest Ballet. I was dancing with black women at the day. Like, so she wasn't the first. And we were there before. She was there, other people there before her. She was the one that made it to the top, and she helped so many get there. with her achievements and what she had to put up with. I actually had somebody say, gosh, her breasts are a little too big. Really? Wait a second. This woman is a stick. Turn sideways, stick out your tongue, looks like a zipper, blow away in a wind. I'm sorry. But that right there, all of it, all of that is a discrimination of against a human body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an aesthetic discrimination. So now it's artistic liberty.
Mm.
And my aesthetic eye is wait, it's usually boys that were in the lead and up at the head of these offices, the ADs, artistic directors, the boards. These are men running these organizations, and ballet is not an art. Ballet is the epitome of discrimination.
Ooh, I feel. Hey, that is a whole
show.
Whole show.
And I have never heard it said that directly, but it's always been danced around. But yeah.
And the idea of
think about it.
The aesthetic discrimination under the guise of aesthetic liberty is definitely that's a whole show too. If you're just joining us for this show, we are talking to Christina Michaels from the Queer Dance Project about deliberate discrimination against studio owners and operators from the LGBTQIA plus community and how we can combat that and defeat that and what measures we can take to make some progress forward. Please like and share this episode. Please make sure that you are telling other people about this episode because they can watch it afterwards. And also, if you have comments, we want to hear from you. Drop them in the comment section. We would love to hear what you think about this topic. So, Christina, when we were choosing a topic for this show, you used the word deliberate, like deliberate discrimination, discriminatory practice, and even some that are even appropriated. And we kind of talk about that because it seems like they're appropriated by law. Like there's legislature that appropriates these practices. Why do you think after all these advancements in our society, there are so many people that still turn a blind eye to these deliberate discriminatory practices and legislature?
Don't turn a blind eye, but go, it's gotten so much better. This and this and this is happening now. So it's fine. It's, everybody has challenges. Everybody has problems. Like it's gotten better. Like you hear those two sides of the coin, right?
Oh, I wish they would turn to me and give me a job then too, because I would like to teach at a summer school if you need me. No, I was doing an interview for a University of Toronto, there's a university in Toronto, and I was being interviewed by somebody who's asking a lot of they were not naive, they were just wanting to know more about like the struggles as a queer business owner and a queer dancer. Absolutely. And that intersection that I'm at, that I sit in the middle of this intersection. And
I put myself, Christina, I put myself in that category. I'm like, if you do good work and you're a good business and I'll bring my kid. I don't even think that way. So for me, I am ignorant because I don't know what you're facing. It doesn't even, my brain does not go there. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, I am absolutely in that pile for sure.
Yeah. And you asked a question earlier, Bree, about like children and parents and that sort of thing. A lot of that is uneducation. Like they just are uneducated. What is it? There's a right-wing thing about like gays against groomers sort of thing. Not that I've ever watched it, but a few of my friends have had some problems with them. And it's really kind of gross when you start to see like these are parents that are being misled with misinformation. Like the last time I was on your show, you thought you could get a surgery under 18, and like, no, a lot of times we can't do anything until we're over 18. Now you've got states that are going after the 21 law and saying you can't do anything until you're 21.
Wow.
Like, not only have they taken away the law of our bodies, of a woman's body, of an AFAB woman's body, a natal female, assigned female at birth body, but now they're taking away the right of trans women and trans men. But trans men are really unique and beautiful because they hide and you would never know. Right. They blend in so well because of that. So when you get these parents that are worried about their children or anything, it's really their own internalized fears. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I can say that I, at an early age, I was homophobic. I can actually say that, but only because my bully at the age of 12 was a drag.
Mm.
I had my own troubles with the LGBTQ community at an early age. But for me to go past that and say, no, it wasn't them, it was myself. I was questioning that I couldn't be who I wanted to be.
Mm.
But this has to happen with every parent. If a parent comes in with a kid and they're afraid, they have to ask themselves why they're afraid.
Why? Right.
What makes them, and if not only that, then come to the studio owner and ask the question, what do you got going? Can you explain this? Because, and most of the time, I'll let them sit in the lounge. So
Sorry.
Yeah.
someone's phone's going off. So, anywho, yeah, it's something that needs to be brought up. Really big point is the conversation around what repercussions can studio owners have. There is none.
Mm.
There really is none.
There
I
is
open
none
a dance.
anyway, and then you add there is not much anyway because it's just a different business, right? But then you add the LGBTQIA plus element to it, and it's no, you know.
And there's no accountability. There's not. You're not gonna. What are you gonna call a Better Business Bureau and say this dance company, has a gay person in it, or like it's gonna happen. That's why I kind of opened my studio because,
Mm.
Got it.
and I actually put my resume in a couple other dance studios that needed like part-time teachers. I crickets, crickets, crickets,
Really?
cricket. So yeah.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's and then I can is that discrimination? Did the person have a younger teacher? Did somebody have, who knows? But when you got 25 years experience and a professional career behind it,
I
it's
was gonna say you
it's
clearly have the qualifications, like
Right.
you know, to be able to do anywhere and anything. So
Right.
yeah.
So, how much of a role do you think demographics play in this? I know, I'm not sure, in your area where you live, demographics as far as do younger people seem more affirming? Is it white people who seem more affirming? Do you find that people of color or
Mm,
BIPOC
mm.
BIPOC community are more affirming and of LGBTQIA business owners? Do you find any
Yeah,
differences?
yes, yeah, I do. I There are the black business owners in Denver. I find that they're really useful to go with. And if I find like I work with a climbing gym up in Golden, because I'm about 10 minutes drive south, just outside of Golden, Colorado, where a University of the Mines is at. So the climbing gym, I see a lot of climbers that come in here. So, like I said earlier, my target is always towards LGBT organizations. As for my demographics are everything.
Mm.
I have a wonderful man named Gary that comes in and he just feels better taking a class in a leotard and tights.
Mm.
I have my trans male cup students come in here and are so glad that there's no mirrors on the wall because they don't have to wear a binder. And binders are really hard on the ribs and breathing and movement. So I was actually in a conversation yesterday with an organization that provides movement friendly binders for trans males, and I'll probably be starting and selling some of them here as a retail center for them because it's just not there out there for us.
So
And so,
to be clear to and to get in front of any comments that might be coming our way here is just you're not discriminating and saying people can't come into my studio. You're adjusting your business model because of the challenges you face that
mhm.
you have to make it work to keep your
Yeah, I
business
do. I
going.
do.
And this
I
is
do.
what
And I
works.
have allies. I have older dancers. I have a dancer that's as old as 70, younger dancers that are as low as 20. I have queer people of color that come in here. I have some hardcore lesbians that come in here and like, oh, I want to do male dancing. And I'm like, you got it. I can do that for you. And then I want some that want more soft stuff. So
Yeah.
I also offer different classes so that we can get a variety of different techniques out there. Um,
Mhm.
Most of my population is expansive from is 18, and I've also taught youth programs as well at LGBT centers, and they go well too. A lot of kids don't know they can move or they're allowed to move and not be made fun of. Think about it, like you're restricted as an LGBT youth to move and dance. Not only that, you're not welcome in spaces. And now when you go to a place that has places that says you can dance and there's a trans woman doing it, helping you do that, that's life. That's changing. That's altering your whole life. It's no different than a person of color seeing Michelle Obama kicking butt.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Having that role model. Who is your role model, Bree? Who is your role model, Melissa? Like, who is our role model? Most of these kids don't have it.
Right.
And so, offering that to the bigger spectrum, I get a lot of kids in there. I get a lot of allies. There's a lot of allies that come in here and want to support me and what I'm doing too.
Well, that is wonderful to hear that you do have that side of it as well. That is always encouraging. What are some ways that we can make sure we're identifying and supporting LGBTQIA plus businesses in our community? Because you're a business owner from the LGBTQIA community. Both Apala and Turning Point Dance Creations are women owned, and TPDC is also Black owned. And we're all operating in a white, cisgender, heteronormative, male dominated space, right? So, world, really.
Sexist. Sexist and misogynistic world. You have to add those two words because it's misogynist. These are men that are literally dictating how you to do business.
Yes. And while we're all extremely proud to be successful business owners in spite of the odds, right? We've found from our customers, we've actually pulled people because we're extremely proud to be an all-female owned business. We've consciously done it that way up to this point, right? So what we found though in pulling our customers is that it's not in the list of things that are most important when they choose to spend their money. It's other things, right? Like I can tell you being made in the USA is up there. It's in the top 3 priorities over being a woman-owned business. So how do we get people to understand the importance? Like before I ask this question, like we even had somebody reach out from Shark Tank, like after we sold out and went into the back order situation, our customer service, as you can imagine, blew up and we were just in a haze of customer service. And so many people reached out with words of kindness and support, but there were also some really angry people. And not only did this woman choose to email and let me know because my name and face are, at the head of the company with Casey, but she chose to reach out and let me know that she thinks we are so stupid for acknowledging on Shark Tank that we were a female-owned business, and who cares? Nobody gives a crap, and some other expletives that she chose to insert. But called our voicemail line and left a really nasty email just to let me know that she wanted me to know that we were ridiculous and stupid for nobody cares. And went on a rant for like 5 minutes about it. And I was so taken back that somebody would take the time, not even to like I would never email Nike and be like, this is what I think of you, Nike. Like, who does this, first of all, right? But like just let it go and move on. But she was so triggered by our episode that it was unbelievable. I've never experienced anything like that. So how do we get people to understand the importance of supporting business owners from underrepresented communities or demographics? Because it is a source of pride, and representation does matter, like you said. So how do we get people to go, it's okay to be proud of that. It's okay to support that.
So I heard this narrative, this idea a couple of years back, right before the pandemic. This is when that other guy was president. And so there's, imagine 3 circles, and you were in the middle. So you're in the center of this bullseye. So you two small women business owners are in the middle of this. And then you have this outer ring, this next ring. And that next ring are all the people that want to help you. And they want to help you do better. And they want to do whatever they can to get your word out. The next ring out are those other people. That person that wrote you that email, that made the phone calls. You can't talk to them. You can't.
No.
You cannot convince them. Period. Step away. What you do is you need somebody that's in that middle zone and be like, you know what? I need you to talk to my friend Christina.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have somebody that's can be both and not have to be you.
Yeah.
And you're not the center of their bullseye and bull ass stuff. But
Yeah.
and really, I looked at that. I have to say, there's a lot of internalized fear going on there.
Yeah.
And I have to walk away from that, and it's
Yeah.
not worth my energy because I want to go for the people that are in that middle ring and the people that are in the center ring that want to help me.
Well, and I think
Because
that's
that
where credit, yeah, that's where credit needs to be given too, because I will say the old Bree, like the younger Bree, the feistier version, the one who had not learned or reined in the emotions and swallow some things, right? Like I would have gone back at this person and given every fiber of my being to making sure she knew where she could take her thoughts, right? But like because of that, I'm like, I am so grateful to be in this moment. We are so grateful to be in this moment. And there are for her email, there was hundreds more of people that were cheering us on, and that had to be let go because I'm never going to change her mind. And then I think some credit has to be given to you and the LGBTQIA community plus community as well for just the control and the things
Right.
that you have to deal with because it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, there's a statistic, and my partner is trans male. He works at CU. Boulder's Pride office. He heads it up as their director. He has a PhD in anthropology, and he was making a point that like visibility can be invisibility, and invisibility can be like suicidal. So like too much visibility by a trans woman by other trans women can be interpreted poorly.
Mm.
Ah, okay.
Too much visibility on the trans male community can actually send them further deeper into their recluse and so there's this definite fine edge line that we're walking in culture, and it it's like every moment you're taking a step, you're realizing that not only am I representing myself, but in representing myself, I will probably have someone from my side trying to punch me and down me. Most of my personal business attacks have come from other trans people,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
that's when I have to be
I would
like,
have never
wait a
guessed that.
second,
That's
like too much visibility hurts.
okay.
and
Wow.
and so I tend to recognize like, wait a second, this is not me. But there was an old Chrissy who did that as a person. I was offering a free
Totally.
acupuncture clinic to trans women on Trans Day of Remembrance in November, and someone attacked me on social media, and I had licensed therapists come and help to my aid and help me on this. No one on this social media platform helped me out or defended me or did anything except for my peers, my professional peers.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? I find out where they work, wrote him a bad email to work, and now it happened
Vigilante style
again.
this
It
is.
happened again. I had an artist do some work for me, and then I got really sick in the fall or in the springtime. Yeah, like this last fall, and then I got this nasty, nasty, nasty email from this person, and I was like, you know what I mean? I've been in the hospital, and they just wanted their money. No, no. And I'm like, all right, fine, fine. I got to write an invoice. I'll send it out to you. Like, I can't. You can't argue. You can't have a talk with those people.
No, and I
You
think
know.
being a business owner teaches you those things. Like
It does.
I definitely let my emotions flow a little more freely. I've learned. I think it's actually a really great skill that I have now to process without emotion and to really be calm before I react. Like I have not always had that skill, and I think business teaches you that for sure.
Yeah, no.
Good for you. Could you give it to me? I'll take
You
some.
know what?
I
It's taken a long time. And I have struggled
know.
with
I
way,
know.
way many other things. So that's my one. I have a strength. So that's good. But for those of you joining, I am Bree. This is Melissa. This is Beyond the Steps. Every week we talk about topics affecting dance studios and performance athletes, from racism to gender inequities to sex abuse and prevention, nutrition, psychology, and of course, dance medicine and science. We pick one topic and bring in one guest expert to talk deeply about all of these things. Today, we're welcoming back Christina Michaels, and we're talking about how we fight deliberate discrimination against dance studio owners and operators of the LGBTQIA plus community. Christina, dance studios, like so many businesses where we take our kids to learn, explore, and grow with their extracurricular activities, should be a safe space. But the sad reality is that sometimes they're not. And sometimes it has nothing to do with business at all, but rather the bigoted minds of others and the extremes they go to be heard, or people that have mental health issues themselves, and our kids have to be afraid to be at school, but that's another day. Let's talk about some of the measures that the LGBTQIA plus studio directors and owners, and really all small business owners, should have in place when there's an open attack on LGBTQIA plus organizations. Give us your top two.
That's hard.
I know there's probably a lot, but like,
Well, let's first of all, can we name the 10 businesses that are LGBT organizations, like dance studios? Like
let's do it.
in Valles, that's in Brooklyn. Okay, Katie's great. But she's part of another arts organization. So that's another. Sean Dorsey's in San Francisco. So a hate attack there, probably not so likely. My business in a state that's purple, I have some risks I undertake, and I know that. And I'm aware of it, greatly aware of it. It's
do you build a relationship with the police department in your area? Do you go to your local media and make sure it's on the news so that people are aware of it? Do
no, as a trans woman, I don't want to go to the news.
Okay.
As a trans woman and a small business owner, as a trans woman, I don't want any media on my company.
Interesting. Got it.
At all. I don't want it. And if it is, I want it to be in an LGBT newsletter or in an LGBT organization. But I do not need a news site taking pictures and being like, here's Queer Dance Project. No, it should be here is Healing Roots Acupuncture that has a dance studio for it. But if I get media, I'm more afraid of media than anything. Like I don't advertise on Facebook and I don't advertise on Google. None of those platforms can guarantee me the contact I need with my organization.
Wow.
So
okay.
I have to refrain from any of that because I actually did it at Facebook ad launch about a year and a half ago, and I had people writing nasty stuff from Pennsylvania.
That was my question. Is it because of the engagement then that invites when you get the publicity? Because I see, again, ignorance is bliss, right? Like I would think, okay, if nobody's going to help me, then I'm going to get it out and put it out and make this a story for people to be aware that this is happening. But you're saying no, it's the total opposite of that because it invites further confrontation.
Confrontation, yeah.
I mean, I can only liken it to, okay, so one of the first businesses that started Black-owned businesses that were in Chicago and New York City after slavery slaves were freed were catering companies. Like one of the first organizations, these were catering companies, and Black families would come in and cater your meals into these white homes. And that's how some of these businesses got started, young, small Black businesses. And these small, young Black businesses were under a great deal of racism at the time too. So I kind of have to place myself in their shoes. And I cannot be a Black person. I can't.
You're right.
But I can learn from
struggles.
What and because if I can't, I have to learn from that. And thankfully, knock on the dance floor wood, I'm there here on. I haven't had too much, but I don't want publicity. If I want publicity, I want it for people to seek me out because I'm a niche. I'm not like a billboard. I am a billboard
for the good work that you do, not because of part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Right. And I know you mentioned a couple of things earlier, Christina, about tinting the windows and, working with, so those are precautions that you think could be helpful to people who are in the LGBTQIA community?
Yeah, I actually have sent out a warning. I said everybody must register for class. You're not allowed in class unless you register for class. That's a mandatory because I was having walk-ins available. And then I would say the doors open 15 minutes before class, which most dance studios do that anyways. And then the door will be locked the moment that class starts. And it will remain locked the whole time. And then the window tinting makes it very hard for people to come in and see. I also have great shades that cover all of my windows. So you can only see about ankles down.
Mm.
So I've had to make precautions. Plus, then I also know the business owner I'm leasing from. He has cameras on every corner, and
Mhm.
this is a fairly there's a community center that gives a lot of food donations around the corner here. So we
Mhm.
do have a lot of houseless folks that live here. And so I will often give food to them and bring meals to them and that sort of thing. So like I know the community better, the houseless community here than I might
Mhm.
know my neighbors. Like
Mm.
Yeah.
the plumber that's across the street or the heating and cooling guy. I don't know. It doesn't look friendly to me. My eye doctor right here next to me, I don't know. He's had given me a couple really rude comments. So you know
Mm.
what? I don't. I gotta learn. I gotta learn from my history.
Mm. That's so
I
interesting.
just yeah. It's yeah.
You're in constant evaluation of the people around you and whether they are supportive or they are a threat, and that's a whole layer,
And
additional
that,
layer in business
yeah,
owning.
and that is such a like that's another privilege that you don't
Mhm.
even realize. I am sitting here like obviously I am aware of my privilege and I acknowledge that and I learn every day still how I don't acknowledge that, right? But like that is a way, when I'm having these conversations with others, that's something they've never had to feel yes, like we've all been to an unsafe area, but to have to do that every day in your life, where you live, where you work, when you go to the store, when you go out of town, like that's just something I'll never understand. Never
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, it is
Beyond general awareness,
right.
just having general awareness. That I've never had to live in fear like that constantly.
So I know, Christina, you mentioned some dance companies and other organizations that are doing good work. Do you have any others that you want to highlight that are LGBTQIA, just positive and supportive organizations out there?
Um, I haven't done my research. I've been deep in finishing this book. So, I like I said, ballets is Black and Brown Ballet. That's on Instagram. I like to watch them too. And there is, I'm gonna pull up my Instagram. There's a American Native gay male, Sean Shoot. Um, he does American Indian and American Native dancing. He's based out of California right now, but him and his partner. So that just a small little education here. If often within the Native American community, back about 10 or 12 years ago, there was a conference and they started calling them two spirits.
Yeah.
So that would be right. So they're two spirits and they identify as gay men and their partner. And I saw some amazing dancing that they were doing on Instagram.
Mhm.
Amazing. And I'll look at their
I'm
name in a
trying to
second.
find. There's a couple organizations, and I'm trying to get the exact name so I don't mess it
And
up.
I'm gonna look up Sean because him and his partner are they're just really amazing to watch dance, especially with their headdresses and the way they were moving. And I was profound. Um, Letitia Hardy, she is a gangbuster down in the Colorado Springs area. She has amazing studio. Letitia Hardy, Tish. She's great. Amazing. There's a gal here, Evolving Doors Dance. She does modern dance and she does a lot more like contract work as an artist.
Mhm.
Sean Dorsey does a lot of. He's the trans male guy out of San Francisco. He was originally, I believe, from Vancouver, British Columbia. He does a lot of trans male stuff. Um, oh, Ballet de Barcelona. That man did the artistic director spent like 15 or 10 years in Ballet de Trocadero
Mhm.
in Monte Carlo. So he has a very gender expansive company. Like when you watch excuse me, the clips on Instagram, it's amazing. So I've actually reached out to him. And not like there are so few, but they're there, and
Mhm.
we wave our our proud pride flags.
Mhm.
Um, one of you asked me about how to recognize an LGBT business. I don't even have one of these inclusive rainbow signs on my door entry. I just don't even do it. But that would be one of those things. If you want to have an inclusive dance studio, not to switch gears or jump over the lanes, but having a rainbow thing there, it says, and be
You're
careful when
welcoming.
you say, yeah, and you're welcoming to the LGBT inclusive, no race, no, we're welcoming all of that. Be careful saying it's safe space. There is no true safe space. And even when you have a place that's safe, you end up having to call the police. And that's probably the last person that person wants to see that's wanting a safe space. So I think there's places like Denver, San Francisco, LA that are instituting like social workers coming in to safe places like that instead of police officers and law enforcement. And it's shown some amazing results. Like in Denver,
Okay.
here it's in Denver.
I
It's
just read an
amazing.
article about something like that. That's kind of the shift that people are moving towards is, social workers.
So having that inclusive signage in your door, but
And
as
that's
for the
not hard. I mean, that's like a little thing that you can do that would speak volumes. It's not a billboard. It's not an email. It's not an ad. It's just a, hey, you're welcome here.
you could just write it, type in a Google search or something. It says like inclusive pride sticker for Windows, a window inclusive pride. You'll find it. I'll say it'll have everything.
Yeah. And then the families that come to your studio, if they're offended by that, then those are probably
No, actually, I had a trans girl come in, young trans girl, the last year, come in, take classes, and she's now gone to Colorado Ballet, and she's at another dance studio. She takes Colorado Ballet summer school, so it was an honor to teach her. But it's like I'm also don't want to go into places like Colorado Ballet because as much as I'd like them, and I know the artistic director, and I know the head of the school, it's forcing something. You're forcing gender on people. You're forcing turnout. You're forcing turnout, but you don't even understand the repercussions that has on kids. And then you're forcing gender norms. You're enforcing body structure. You're enforcing, body shaming. You're enforcing so much stuff. So, like, get to the root of this podcast. Like, ballet companies enforce discrimination and encourage it. They have a line. They'll measure a line at the head of an audition, and they'll say 5'7". If you're above that, you're cut.
I'd be out.
Like
I would be out.
I would too. Girl, I'm 6 foot. Put on point shoes, and I'm like 8 feet tall. But yeah, it's just like it's pretty bad. I'm just gonna say, as someone who's been in the field as a choreographer and set stuff and dance stuff, it's the epitome of discrimination. But if we look at bright side, let's just give me 1 second and talk about the bright side.
Of course.
Ballet cognitively is incredible for your brain. Okay, it's incredible for your memory. It's incredible for your ear. You are doing things to music while doing something with your arms, while doing something with your feet, while thinking about being graceful. This is a marshaled practice. It takes time, and I think that if we start to look at the better side of ballet, let's walk away from that discrimination and see what it can do. What can it do? It can strengthen our memory. It gives us confidence. It gives us proprioception. If you don't have a mirror, it makes that dancer find that arm instead of looking in the mirror. There's so many other benefits than the discrimination that we see on stage. And back to one of your earlier questions, and I know we're coming close to an end, but how do we change these ballet companies? It starts with the board. It starts with the board of directors that wants accountability for equality. Period. These board directors are excuse me, my earphones died. But these board directors are by the board and by their actions and the donations. So if you have, did my mic go off?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. If you have boards that aren't asking for equality and accountability, you're always going to have racism and misogyny and sexism and discrimination in ballet.
Yeah. Which then trickles down to everything.
Everything, all the way down to a dance studio owner who can discriminate against the dancer's weight because artistic visions and aesthetics don't match what we want.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah. So with that, we do homework, as you know, we give homework every week so that people can take steps and make improvements in all the ways that we've discussed today. So what is one thing you want to challenge our listeners and the people that are watching to put into practice, something they can implement right now that to see a difference in the next 7 days?
Don't expect your LGBT people to be your dictionary. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's no different than going to your Black friend and going, tell me all about the Blackness, about Black stuff, and tell me your Latino stuff, and tell me all the good food to eat. Just don't. Do your own homework. There's great information out there. There's wonderful resources. Do your homework. And then when you do, find out organizations that help small businesses, that want to strengthen small businesses and uplift small LGBT businesses. So their homework would be find organizations that uplift small businesses like the Human Rights Campaign and Showtime Television that gave me some of this money, to their state and local nonprofits, and talk to them about how they can help. Because if they can look to their state nonprofits for LGBT nonprofits, and a lot of states don't have that. And that's the tricky part. But do your homework and find local nonprofit LGBT organizations and help volunteer and be there for us.
And be an ally.
And be an ally.
Yeah.
Be an ally.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. We also want to encourage you to take our free Steps Initiative course. It's something that's been going for 3 years now. We still have it available. You can take it absolutely free. It's going to highlight online modules that you can take at your own pace in all the areas we've talked about already: racism, gender inequity, sex abuse and prevention, nutrition, psychology, and dance medicine and science. It's all in there. And each module has been curated by experts in their field. It's not everything you need to know by any means. Christina said there's a lot of research out there to be found, and do that. But this is a great jumping off point and hopefully leads you in the right direction to go further on your own. Christina, how can people get in touch with you if they have questions, if you do consulting in any way? How can people find you?
I'm at queerdanceproject@gmail.com. My website is www.queerdanceproject.com. And you can just call me. 720-443-2966.
I love that you just give your phone number. I love that.
Yeah.
Talk to me. I love it.
No, listen, I don't mind you send me hate. I'll block your call. No, Queer Dance Project. There is another organization that's doing research called the Queer Dance Project, but I actually own the copyright and the www.thequeerdanceproject as well. So it's just look out for Queer Dance Project, and it's in Lakewood, Colorado.
I love it. Thank you so much, Christina. We are so happy to have you.
I love y'all are great. I've been doing the interviews lately, so this is wonderful. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Yes, thank you so much. And Christina, I do want to highlight this really quick. Your book out in February, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, mid-February. It's going to be on Amazon, and I'll be doing the audio book of it as well through March. It's called The Adventures of Vaginoplasty, semicolon.
Not vaginoplasty.
Not vaginoplasty. Vaginoplasty, also known as gender confirmation surgery, and it's a trans woman's guide to healing, because there are no books like this out there.
So proud and excited for you.
Any of us go through our surgeries, so let's go out there and help these women.
So proud and excited for you, Christina. I didn't know. Congratulations. That's amazing.
I know. I'm over a year with my new JJ, and I'm happy.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. If you enjoyed this episode, if you learned something in this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. We are just absolutely over the moon to have Christina back. We're also absolutely over the moon to let you know that we are going to have a podcast. All of our episodes are going to be released in podcast form, including this one. So now you can watch and listen. You can watch and listen at the same time, at different times, all the time, whatever it is that you want to do. So please be on the lookout for with that. Our next show is on the 20th of January. Next, it's hard to say that. 20th of January, 2023. Next Friday, with Sarah Baldwin to talk about creating safe and healthy dance spaces that are accessible to all socioeconomic levels. So we are. That's the topic that we have not had yet. So that is going to be a very unique topic that we will learn a lot. So until next time, everyone, we hope that you can continue your journey beyond the steps. See you next week.